Hello everybody, welcome back. We are playing Quakecraft today, and I want to tell you guys that sometimes audiobooks are great and other times they really stink because I had 2 audiobooks and then they disappeared from my library. I paid for these books and they disappeared. I'm gonna try and troubleshoot a few things, and I'm a little upset about it though, because there was one book that I was like, you know what, I want to get back to this one. Like, it actually stuck out to me, and that's a good place to be if a book sticks out. Yeah, but it just disappeared, and my Audible is just saying, it never existed, and I'm like, I know for a fact it existed. I can tell you the whole prologue of the whole book, because that's what I started, and my memory serves me well when it comes to books. So, I'm not really happy about that, but this whole past weekend I was listening to a couple of other audiobooks. That's why I was like, oh, you know what? I want to get back to the other books that I started. Those are good. Yeah, no, they just disappeared. Yeah, not fun. Alright, but yes. So one of the reasons why audiobooks came up in the conversation today, besides the fact that they have been unjustly taken from me, and I thought they were going to be good ones, but I'm going to have to track them down. But aside from that, this past weekend I was like totally, like, it sounds weird to say binge reading when I was listening, so binge reading / listening. Woo! Really good stories though, for 2 of them. Well, no, I only listened to 2 this weekend. Never mind. Okay, yeah, it's fine. But the interesting thing though, I didn't realize that being a writer, how much it altered the way I read things now. Like, a long time ago when I first started writing, I thought, hey, I can't read anymore because I need to be writing. Like, there was this huge amount of guilt that just, you know, used to trap me, where I would start a book and the whole time my brain was saying, you should be writing. Why aren't you writing? You could be published like this author if you know, and so it was like a bad voice that just kept like taunting me. And so I put the book down because I didn't enjoy it as much. And it made me so sad as a writer, and I thought, is this... Hold on. So sorry about that, guys. We were so rudely interrupted by my game crashing. I did not get my karma points, I don't think, so rip to those. But as I was saying, yeah, so as a reader, you know, when I first started writing, well, that makes no sense. Yeah, so when I first started writing, and I tried to pick up a book, or 2, or 3, I did. I felt so much guilt, and I wonder how many other writers feel this or felt this. I think it might be a universal thing, but I was really concerned that I would not be able to enjoy reading again. I really truly thought, okay, that's it. I've read enough. Okay, apparently I can't enjoy reading anymore. I must only write, and so it kind of felt like a curse almost, and I'm like, ooh, this probably isn't healthy, but you know, as a young writer, you think, hey, no, this is the way it's supposed to be. This is writing. It's pain. Pain equals writing. Writing equals pain. But instead, I'm sure you guys are like, wow, what a transition. Yeah, no, but instead of me hating, you know, writing and believing it to be a curse, or hating reading because I was now a writer and thinking it was a curse, it's actually the opposite. Okay, this past weekend I was listening to 2 audiobooks and I just had so much fun. Like, lovingly, I say this because I never ever want to tear down another writer, and these books were not bad. They were not bad books. Okay, they're actually by some of my favorite writers. But I was lovingly tearing them to pieces, trying to basically enjoy every single aspect of them. Like character arcs, I'm tearing it apart. Trauma for the character, I'm tearing it apart. Setting, I'm tearing it apart. Motives, tearing them apart. Okay, it was so much fun. And it was like relaxing for me. And I was like, wow, I'm a horrible person. No, it was this newfound joy that I found for reading as now through a writer's lens, because it was like, on one side I was a writer and on the other side I was a reader, and so they were just kind of working in tandem to like understand the book, and it was so much fun. And I'm sure that there's so many other people who are like, why would you like tear somebody else's book apart. And I'm like I said, it was lovingly tearing them apart because like I said, one of my favorite writers, one of my favorite authors like had written these books, and I was finally getting a chance to enjoy reading again, and I was enjoying it more because I could enjoy it through both lenses, if that makes sense. And it was so interesting, though. And in fact, one of her characters in the book actually inspired a brand new character and setting for a project that I am working on. It's a secret project. But I was kind of playing around with a few different things, and I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna make this project work. I was like, the idea that I had that I was working on, like, it could work, it could be fine, but I was like, it just doesn't have enough of that like uniqueness, that spark that I was like looking for. So I was getting really kind of concerned because I was like, I'm really weighing this down. Like, I'm putting my eggs all in one basket here with this project. And I was like, can this idea that I have hold the weight of that project? And so I was getting concerned about that. But instead of, sticking with that concern, when I was reading the audiobooks this weekend, and I was, like I said, lovingly tearing them apart, there was one character in particular that I was like, oh, this is such a unique perspective of this. And there are a few things with this character that I was like, I felt like the character wasn't utilized as well as I wanted to see. I don't know if this is where it was a little bit like, I don't know if it was my reader side or my writer side that was saying it, but I was like, this character is such a good, strong, interesting character that I have to dig into them more. I have to make this character something in one of my own projects. Like, not steal the character, but be inspired by the character, if that makes sense. To also give some context to this, so the audiobook that I read, at the very beginning, it appeared like he was going to be one of the main characters in it. Yes, I read romance novels. I also write romance novels. So there's going to be two protagonists. There's going to be the guy, there's going to be the girl, and it's so interesting to, take them apart, see how they kind of balance each other out in the storyline, because it's very important to not only get one of their character arcs, like, really strong and all that, but so that way they work together as a team, but they don't tear each other apart. That can be a little tricky to do. But so at the beginning of this book, I thought he was going to be the main protagonist for the book, because the way that the author drew so much attention to his character and created so many questions about his character that I was like, oh, this has to be, the main character. I mean, we were seeing it through the lens of the main female character, and so we're like, okay, this is, the way the direction of this is going, he's gonna be the main, they're both gonna be the main characters. Nope, boy, was I wrong on that account. He was not the main protagonist, male protagonist of that book. He was actually more of a background character, a side character in that. But the review I left, I don't usually leave reviews, but for this one I felt like I had to, because it was still a good book, like I said. All the other characters were good, except for the actual main protagonist, male protagonist. He wasn't very sympathetic. Like, honestly, when I was reading the first chapter, I thought, okay, this is the villain, right? Boy, was I wrong again. He wasn't the villain, but I was like, he wasn't sympathetic. He wasn't a sympathetic character, and in writing that is so important. But I just was so conflicted because I was like, oh, he's got to be the villain. All of a sudden I was like, wait a minute. Like, you start getting that bad feeling, and you keep saying, no, I don't like this. Right, which it was a pretty good book. Like I said, I was lovingly tearing it to pieces, okay? Because I really wanted to enjoy it, and I did, in just a different way. It's kind of one of those tough things to explain. It's like I tore this apart because I loved it, like that kind of thing. I'm sure that doesn't make much sense. Hopefully it does. Hopefully other people are like, oh, no, I get that. Wait, come back. Hey, there we go. Got a second chance. Revenge! Oh, but speaking of the revenge, hold on. But yeah, speaking of the revenge side, okay, so that was, like, the main, like, like goal of the hero was revenge, which I'm like, I'm not saying that it's exclusive to villains, the whole revenge arc thing, but all I'm saying is that most people who have a revenge arc are typically villains or antagonists, okay? It's not a character arc that you really want your hero to have as their goal, unless you do it in a certain way that you can really sympathize with the character. But I couldn't sympathize with this hero, with the main male POV in this book for anything. Okay, there was a point where the heroine, I can't even say it, where she had to choose between this guy that she'd known almost her whole life, who, mind you, was not actually supposed to be the romantic interest in it, okay? But she was supposed to choose between him, the guy she'd known her whole life, and this random guy that was basically a squatter, creepy neighbor almost. Like, I know that I'm now making this really, like, biased, but he was, okay? He was a neighbor who's like, oh, you don't want to know me, I'm not going to give my full name to you, and stuff like that, and he's on this whole revenge, like, dark arc, and, like I want to get back at this guy, which was the guy that she had known all of her life, and he's like, but it's fine, she'll still love me after all this, and I was like, no! Like, I was, like, shouting, like, the whole time she's, like, trying to think, she's like, who should I choose? And I was like, girl, if you choose the wrong person here, I was like, you're a bad, like, you know, protagonist here. I'm like, because the other guy had done nothing but support her entire life, you know, and on the other side, this other guy just was, like, randomly like, I want revenge on this guy, and I'm just gonna blame him for the fact that I can't communicate with my mom, and my dad died because he kept trying to, you know, play cards and steal from other people. Like, that's what it was. And I was like, what? I can't sympathize with this male protagonist. But yeah, so now we were faced with, like, when I was reading this book, faced with these two guys, which technically the one wasn't even, like, a contender. So it wasn't, like, a love triangle. She wasn't trying to do a love triangle in this. It was actually, you know, supposed to be this one guy that I thought was a villain as the love interest. And I was so conflicted by that. I was like, why would you do that? Because the first guy he was interesting, you know, you wondered what it was, you know, what his past was, you wondered all this different stuff, because you were already seeing everything through, you know, the female, like, POV, and so you're just like, okay, like, based on how they're focusing on different things here, this guy has to be, nope, no, I was wrong, and I was so mad about that. But yes, all of this to say that, oh man, we're already dead, okay. But all this to say that being a writer who reads is probably one of the most entertaining things ever. I thought it would be a curse. Like I said at the beginning, okay, my original thoughts of it being a curse, like, I was dead wrong, okay? In fact, it's quite the opposite, okay? I can enjoy it on a whole nother level, and I'm more passionate about it too because I know the process and I know all the different things. Like, I don't know everything, but I just know the different layers that go into it, the different things that, you know, you have to look for. So I realized that me tearing apart was just me becoming more passionate about it, both the storyline, the characters, as well as, like, just the writer herself. So I'm like, that's actually a huge, like, I'm doing great. I got, like, 1 kill. Hey, 2. So yeah, so I wanted to share that. I know I'm sure you guys are just like, hey, it's an audiobook. But there was one point where I was, like, yelling at the audiobook. And I was just like, girl, don't do this. Don't do this, about the female protagonist. I was just like, don't make this choice here. Like, I was so passionate about it. Like, that's, like, the first time I've actually, like, yelled at an audiobook. And my dog's just over to the side like, why are you yelling? You don't need to yell. And I'm just like, but I have to. The characters who can't hear me must understand. But they didn't hear me. Alright, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video of me talking about reading as a writer, as well as just a couple of the books that I read this past weekend, and my thoughts on them. I know I went a little overboard, but like I said in the last clip, I was just really passionate about it, and I want to share it with you guys. Can't guarantee this will be the last video talking about it. Yeah. So if you guys did enjoy it, consider liking and subscribing, and I'll see about making more content like this. Okay, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!